Because of the gospel, I blank. Now, that's a phrase that maybe whatever the blank is for you, it stirs up probably whatever's going on in your life. And I think for me, when I heard that prompt, the first thing that I thought of was, I am constantly being made new. Here's this passage that it's one of my favorite in the whole Bible. I think I say that too often. It's kind of lost its truth but no, they're all my favorite. Here we go. Chapter 21 of Revelation says this. John is having this vision of the end of time, and he writes, "Then I saw a new heaven and a new earth." You'll see this pattern all over and over again about this idea of being new. "I saw a new heaven and a new earth, for the first heaven and the first earth had passed away. There was no longer any sea," which sea for a non-seafaring Jew was a good thing. They weren't like their Phoenician brothers who liked to travel on the ocean or like to travel on the sea. They instead liked lakes better because they were fishermen, but they didn't really know how to weather big waves and stuff. So for a Jew, sea meant death. So that's really the illustration here. There's no longer going to be any death or fear. That's what the sea would have provoked for a Jew. "I saw the holy city, the new Jerusalem, coming down out of heaven from God, prepared just like a bride beautifully dressed for her husband. And I heard a loud voice from the throne saying, 'Look, God's dwelling place is now among the people, and he will dwell with them.'" And we already get God inside of us in the Holy Spirit, but one day we'll be able to be with him face to face. And we'll be able to see him in his face because we will be made perfect in him. But today, in our mortal flesh and our brokenness, we can't see him with our own eyes. They will be his people, and God himself will be with them and be their God. He will wipe away every tear from their eyes. There will be no more death or mourning or crying or pain, for the old order of things has passed away. The one who is seated on the throne said, "Behold, I am making everything new." I love that phrase right there. "Behold, I am making everything new." The Greek there is for making things new is poieo, which has always stood out to me, the meaning of it, even though sometimes I forget what the actual Greek word is. But poieo means, it's in a tense written in the Greek, which it means like to keep on. It keeps on. So when this text says, "Behold," Jesus says, "I am making all things new." He says, "Behold, I am the one who keeps on making all things new." And I think it speaks to the heart of what I wanted to get to in this idea of the gospel. Because of the gospel, I blank. It's because of the gospel on days that I mess up or on days that I fail or in moments of weakness or hurt or brokenness or whatever it might be, that's no longer a definition of who I am. You see, before Jesus, before the gospel, I was sin. That's why Jesus, 2 Corinthians 5:21, had to become sin who knew no sin, because I was sin. It was me. I was encompassed in it. I was defined by it. I was identified to it. And in all of those things, I became a slave to sin. My whole self was found in the fact that I rebelled against the Father. If I was made to bring him glory and to bring him worship, then when I fell, that was a new definition of who I was. My purpose was to bring him glory, and then I had chosen to bring myself glory or to bring the world glory. But now, because of the gospel, the mistakes that I make and the sins that I commit are momentary pieces of time that I'm forgiven for. They're no longer identifiers of who I am. I like the analogy of, I was in the Dominican Republic a few years back, and I was underneath this massive waterfall. And I think about like trying to use a washable marker on your skin at that moment, that as the force of that water comes and rushes over you, no matter what you try to write on your skin, it's just going to wash off immediately. Did you still sin? Is there still a marker there? For sure. But because of Christ, it's been washed away. And that doesn't lead me to sin more. In fact, it leads me to sin less. Because he is so good, because he is so faithful, because he is so generous, he is so forgiving, it pushes me to want to follow him deeper. And every day, I'm hoping to do a little bit better and to know that I'm not where I want to be, but I'm also not where I started. And somewhere on that road, I've got a Jesus standing behind me saying, "Get up. I make all things new again. Get up. My mercies for you are new every morning. My faithfulness is great. Get up." Like trying to get my son to walk right now. When he falls, I don't go, "I guess you're going to be a sitter." I go, "It's okay, stand up. I know it's not where you're going to be, but it's certainly not where you started." So maybe today, if you've been holding on to sin that you've committed and you haven't experienced forgiveness, behold, he makes all things new because of the gospel. See you guys tomorrow.